Yeah, once David Reagan in the 6 got around Jeff Gordon in the 24, he just drove away from him. It's almost like he was trying to pick and choose the right spot to do it.
Kyle Busch made 1 lap and went back to the garage. Greg Biffle has pulled out to a 1-second lead over Casey Kane. Steve?
Hey, Mike, down here in the 16 pits, just wanted to check on fuel mileage. Should it stay green? They cannot. They're about 3 or 4 laps shy of making it to the end.
Well, I tell you that Casey Kane is closing the gap, though, Larry. That last time by, he was a couple of tenths quicker. This time by, looks like he's going to be 3 tenths quicker that time by and closing fast.
5th place, the 11 of Hamlin, gets past Jeff Gordon. And here comes Kenson.
That may be why the 4 car is taking off, because he knows that 11 is coming.
But you know, back to Steve's report on Greg Biffle in the 16 car, like all the other drivers, pitted on lap 345, back racing at 348. That would be 52 green flag laps. What I saw earlier with Casey Kane in the 4, they may be able to run that far.
I think they may, Larry. I think that was their strategy. Of course, running this pace, going to burn a little more fuel, but I still think they're on pace.
Steve, how about Casey Kane?
Well, the word down in the 4 pits is barely. They can make it barely. It might be enough.
That's all it takes, Steve. Barely. Do the burnout on the back straightaway.
In front of the big TV.
Yeah, in front of the big TV.
So you can watch yourself. That's what Marcus Ambrose said earlier. How about David Reagan's fuel situation, Matt?
At this juncture, Mike, the 6 of David Reagan, they feel like they are good to go to the finish as well.
Well, that would be our first-time winner that we've been talking about. He's sitting there in a position if these 2 cats in front of him should not be able to make it on fuel.
And who was it said that would be David Reagan?
Same guy that picked the 99 to win, I think.
No. I had Marcus.
Oh, you had that's
to be
right.
the next first-time winner.
That's right. You're right.
Somebody did have David Reagan.
I think a lot of people's been promoting that David Reagan is not that far from victory lane. But you know, guys, when I think about a lot of these drivers that are close on fuel, I think with the importance of winning, knowing those 2 wild card spots are available, why not roll the dice and see if you can roll into a win here?
I'm all for rolling the dice, buddy. I like a gambler. When it comes time to win a race, take a chance.
Everyone was on pit road with 55 laps to go. There are now 35 laps to go. What will they do? Dick Bergman.
Denny Hamlin's car chief, Spider Gillen, said they are very close on gas. Krista.
Jeff Gordon, they rolled the dice because his car before that last caution was the best it had been all night. Alan Gustafson told me this morning the only way 2 tires would work is if you had a good car. But right now they feel they are also a little short on fuel.
Well, we're being pretty optimistic, all of us are, that there won't be another caution here before this thing ends.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Even though we've had 13 cautions, the trends of their patterns of the last 4 or 5 Coke 600s say that we run the last 40 to 45 laps caution free.
34 laps to go. Greg Biffle out in front by 0.8 of a second over Casey Kane. Then David Reagan, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Denny Hamlin. .29 laps to go. NASCAR on Fox coverage of Coca Cola 600. Greg Biffle has only 1 top 5 finish in all of 2011. He was 4th at Texas, while his teammates have done very well on the 1.5-mile tracks. However, no Ford has won a Sprint Cup point race at Charlotte in the last 17 races. 2002 was the last time a Ford was in victory lane. It was Mark Martin.
Mike, listen to these lap times. 30:01, 30:06, 20:29, 29:20, 29:99, 29:98, 30:06, 30:10. That's your first 6 cars laying on top of each other.
Everybody right on about 30 seconds. Late in the race, Casey Kane holding at about 0.6 of a second behind Greg Biffle. And at some point, a lot of these drivers, like Kevin Harvick, AJ Allmendinger, for instance, will go into economy mode because they don't think they can make it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that that's not what the 4 car is doing right now. I think he was closing pretty fast. I'm not so sure he's not trying to save a little wee bit of fuel. Maybe getting a tiny bit of draft off of Greg Biffle's car right now.
You saw third and fourth place. Reagan and Earnhardt 2.5 and 3 seconds back. Denny Hamlin 4 seconds off the lead, as is Matt Kenseth. Then Gordon, Keselowski, Harvick, and Burton the top 10.
If they tell me I'm 2 laps short, that's 3 miles. I believe I can milk this baby 3 miles.
When I look at the green flag stops that we've had over the course of this race, it seems like 2 drivers that has always went the furthest is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car, who's 4th right now, and quite honestly, Matt Kenseth in that 17, who's sitting just outside the top 5 and 6th.
Kenseth and Hamlin have been fast over these last several green flag runs, inching their way up the board, but they're 5th and 6th with 25 laps to go. Will time run out on them? Jeff Hammond.
Mike, going back to Larry's point about the 88, I listened to those guys during the caution. Steve Letarte was reminding his driver, save me some fuel. His comment back to him, as always, buddy, as always, saving fuel. So these guys have got it in their basically their normal, game plan to do that every time the caution comes out. So it may pay off here at the end.
Junior's last top 5 finish on a 1.5 mile super speedway was in this race 3 years ago.
And under caution, the way a driver can save fuel is maybe kicking up in neutral and let it coast for a little bit. When you get back to racing, DW, only way to save it, roll out a little early, pick it up a little later as far as the throttle.
Got to drive like you got an egg under your foot. You got to ease that throttle down. That's how you get fuel mileage.
Earnhardt now 3rd, 2.5 seconds off the lead. Will hypermiling be the way to win the Coke 600?
Well, there's a good chance that Greg Biffle could let Casey Kane run him out of fuel trying to stay ahead of him. That's the dilemma you find yourself in. You got to go fast enough to keep leading this thing. That might be too fast and run you out of fuel.
Steve?
Well, Daryl, to your point, Biffle is out front, and he says he's saving fuel and he's in clean air.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Steve, because these 2 guys, Biffle and Kane, they got a little margin over Dale Jr. back to 3rd, so they can give up a little bit of time right now.
Not only that, Biffle's the fastest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, if he's trying to save fuel, it doesn't show it to me because he's running fast laps.
This battle right here just will not go away for 5th. Matt Kenseth in the 17, Denny Hamlin in the 11.
Kenseth for most all night has been the best car here. What he lacks right now is track position. 4.5 seconds back, 21 laps to go. Those Roush Fenway Fords. 3 in the top 5. And Carl Edwards, who was the strongest car in the daytime, in 13th.
Yeah, just not sure about Carl. I thought he would be the car to beat all night long, but just hadn't turned out too good for him. He got back in traffic and been stuck.
Edwards is 13.5 seconds off the lead. And most telling about Carl Edwards, where a lot of these cars have really picked up speed as we get into the nighttime, Edwards' fastest lap of the race was lap 2 in broad daylight.
Which is the same for our pole sitter, Brad Keselowski, who's running 8th, and Jeff Burton in the 31, who's running 10th right now, 2nd, 3rd lap of the race.
19 laps to go in 7 of the last 8 Coca Cola 600. The final lead change has occurred within the last 20 laps. 600 miles, and it comes down to about 190 feet right now, 1st to 2nd.
And it sounds like you're either right on the money or you're about 1 lap short on fuel.
Well, as we were having breakfast this morning, Casey Kane's Formula One teammate Sebastian Vettel won the Grand Prix of Monaco. Matt Kenseth is coming. He has passed his teammate David Reagan. Kenseth is 4th. And it was 4.5. Now it's 3.5 seconds off the lead for Kenseth.
I think Kenseth's a lot like Carl Edwards earlier in the race. I think Kenseth's car is really good the longer we go. The more the tires wear, the more the fuel burns off, the better his car is.
And Mike and Darrell, he was actually a half a second quicker than his teammate Greg Biffle in the 16, our leader that time.
The one thing that bounces us around up here is we're just not real sure what these guys' strategy are. Are they good on fuel? Are they trying to save fuel? So we're trying to determine what's going on, you know, based on what situation these guys are in.
16 laps to go. Who has enough speed? Who has enough fuel to win the Coca Cola 600?
Well, I like that little cat sitting there in second as far as both. Casey Kane in that 4. I go back to how far he run earlier, but a lot of that was caution laps. That's the variable that we can't really figure in.
Greg Biffle is leading with 16 to go. We listened in.
How about everybody else? 88's good to go. 4 is going to push you like hell. Your teammates are in the same boat as you.
Well, is that comforting or not?
Well, I don't think I'd be very happy about that. I don't care about my teammates. I want to know what about me.
Casey Kane is there, and the fastest car on the racetrack is Matt Kenseth. He's now just 2.4 seconds back.
That's what I think the 4 car, Larry's just been holding back. Now he's going to start closing in.
Casey Kane is a closer. Here is Kenseth, 2.3. Now Earnhardt in between the 3rd place car. Matt?
Jimmy Finnick, Mike, has not told Matt Kenseth at all about saving fuel. Meanwhile, their teammate David Reagan, Drew Blickensderfer, just told David, save me some fuel. That's when the 17 got around the 6.
So Reagan has backed off so he can be running at the finish. Casey Kane in the number 4. In 2008, passed Tony Stewart with 3 laps to go to win the 600.
Yeah, Tony Stewart had about a 4 or 5 second lead and cut a tire down coming through 3 and 4.
Stop the presses. That 88, all of a sudden he's picked it up a notch. He just run his one of the fastest laps of these lead cars, and he's not out of this thing either. And you know what, guys? Right now, coming down the end of this 600-mile race, my tongue is hanging out. I'm holding on for dear life, trying to get this thing home in one piece.
And oh, by the way, can you save me a little fuel?
Well, soon it's going to be 4 cars under a blanket. Earnhardt catching the 2 leaders, and Kenseth catching up all of them. 2.1 seconds back to Kenseth, the 4th place car. 12 to go.
Just got some information, DW. Steve Letarte, crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., said go.
Go.
Get
and
after
he is, man. He has turned it up. Right now, he's just run. See what his lap time was that time by. Yeah, they're all pretty close right there at this point. The top 4 are.
When I look at 3 of our top 5 being the Fords, what a difference a year has made. This time a year ago, we were wondering what in the world is wrong with the Ford camp. They went all the way to early August at Pocono before they won the first race of 2010.
Well, you know, Jack Roush can't keep a good man down, and he's come back with a vengeance, man.
10 laps to go for Greg Biffle, for Casey Kane, and for Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 3rd. His best 600 finish was 4th in his rookie season 11 years ago.
Getting interesting. Casey Kane he moved up the racetrack again. He had run that high line and closed down on Greg Biffle. He just did it again and made a big gain off turn 4 that time.